Some feelings hide behind silence but are never erased by time. They live between what was said and what was left unspoken, between the glances that never met and the gestures that never happened. It doesn't matter how much time has passed, some connections stay alive like a flame that doesn't burn but warms. The heart knows, even when the mind tries to forget. Deep down, something still pulses. A silent calling that continues from the other side. A feeling that remains whole, even without explanation. And now, the time has come to understand why. Often, the day begins like any other, but an unexplained restlessness shows up. A thought that appears out of nowhere, a name that echoes in the soul without being called. It's the invisible presence of someone still vibrating on the same frequency. A bond that survives without messages, without news, without meetings. Something greater than logic, deeper than time. It's the heart saying what was true never left. It was simply waiting for the right moment to be felt again. And that moment might be now. Some believe love must be spoken to exist, but some loves live best in silence. They are fed by memories, strengthened by absence, preserved by the care not to be lost in the noise of the world. What is born from the soul doesn't fade with distance. It lives on in invisible gestures, in emotions that drift through the days like a gentle breeze. And even without knowing, an exchange is happening between two hearts. A silent conversation made of intuition, signals, and inner certainty. A presence that needs no proof to be real. In the most unexpected moments, the heart senses a different vibration. A warmth in the chest, a quiet shiver, a tear without a reason. These are the responses coming from the other side, from someone who never stopped feeling. The truth is, when love is carefully kept, it finds ways to survive. Even far away, even quiet, even without promises. The universe protects what is pure. And if this message is arriving now, it's because something greater is guiding it. Something that is finally ready to be revealed. Before continuing, strengthen your connection to what is divine. Type Amen in the comments, like this video, and subscribe to this channel to receive messages that speak directly to the soul. And if this message has touched your heart in any way, click the thanks button below. That small act helps keep this circle of light alive, this bond between you, love, and the universe. Everything done with faith returns in blessings. And your presence here makes this invisible connection stronger. Not everything the heart feels can be explained. But everything can be deeply felt when there is willingness to listen. Absence isn't always the end, and silence isn't always forgetfulness. There are stories still being written without words. Each thought, each memory, each dream feeds the love that never truly left. And someone, even now, still holds all of this with care. Because some feelings, no matter how hidden, shine like quiet beacons in the dark. If today the heart beats a little stronger, it's because the other side is calling too. A subtle calling wrapped in memories, in songs, in details scattered through everyday life. All of it used by the universe to reconnect what time tried to separate, but the soul never released. And now, this reunion can begin from within. Through awareness. Through intuition. Because when the heart recognizes truth, it doesn't need proof. It only needs permission to feel. And that permission begins now. Some emotions don't need to be named to be real. They show up in the middle of the day, uninvited, like a living memory crossing the soul. That feeling of being remembered by someone, even without knowing how, reveals itself in the smallest moments. A gaze that drifts toward the horizon, a breath that suddenly changes pace, a heartbeat that quickens for no clear reason. It's not coincidence, it's connection. And when two souls are linked, time or distance doesn't matter. Something inside keeps calling, waiting to be heard. There are moments when silence weighs heavier than spoken words. But within that silence, there is a hidden world filled with intentions, guarded care, thoughts that travel every night. Physical absence doesn't erase emotional presence. In truth, it reveals the strength of a bond that's never been broken. Even without knowing, someone is thinking, feeling, quietly writing about what has not yet been lived. As if every day was another page written, waiting to be read at the right time. In dreams, that bond becomes clearer. That image that appears in the middle of the night, that imagined touch that still gives goosebumps to sleeping skin. These are messages from a universe that insists on reminding you nothing has been forgotten. True love doesn't vanish, it transforms. And between the lines of ordinary days, signs are left like clues for the heart to find. Because when someone truly feels, they feel beyond logic. And the soul recognizes presence, even when disguised as silence. How many times has a song sounded different? Like it was speaking exactly about what's hidden inside. The universe speaks through art, through timing, through symbols placed along the path. And anyone who carries a deep feeling knows those messages are never random. They are invitations to remember that something greater is still alive, still moving in secret. That someone, somewhere, is still holding close everything that was once lived, imagined, and dreamed. It's not easy to carry a feeling without knowing if it still lives on the other side. But what's true remains, even when it's not fed by words. And the truth starts to reveal itself when the heart is willing to feel, without fear, without doubt, without hesitation. Because the heart always knows before the mind. And what it feels now is the echo of something that never died. It simply stayed quiet, waiting for the right moment to bloom again. The days may seem the same, but there's always one moment that feels different. A moment where everything suddenly holds deeper meaning. That's when the universe whispers through the wind, through a sentence read by chance, through a thought that appears out of nowhere. These moments aren't just coincidences. They're invisible meetings between two souls still searching for one another. And even if they haven't reunited yet, they're getting closer in silence, step by step, feeling by feeling. This message is one of those quiet answers, a lighthouse in the dark. A reminder that something has been kept, protected, nurtured every day by someone who never stopped feeling. And that feeling is closer to being revealed than ever before. But first, it's time to open the heart with courage. To believe without seeing, to feel without touching. Because love that lives in silence is still the most real. And now, it's ready to be heard. There is a secret place where true feelings remain untouched. A space within the heart where everything once felt is still alive, even when time tries to fade it. It's there that memories gain color, desires take form, and silence turns into hope. It's there that a carefully held name still echoes softly, like a song that never ended. And even without words, everything continues to be said. Because where there is truth, love doesn't need sound to exist. Some souls don't disappear, they simply retreat to care for what they feel. They keep the essence of a connection still pulsing with intensity. They keep on living, smiling, moving forward, but always with a part of the heart turned toward what was never finished. And even if life tries to distract with new paths, the soul knows what still belongs. Knows where longing still rests. And quietly feels that something important still lives, waiting in time to unfold. While many move on out of impulse, some choose preservation. Guarding love gently is an act of bravery, not weakness. It's choosing not to expose what's sacred. It's tending to a feeling like a rare flower that can only bloom in soul time, not world time. And even when the days go by without answers, that care remains. Because some certainties don't need to be shouted. They only need to be deeply felt and patiently carried. What was once lived stays etched like a tattoo in emotional memory. The details don't fade. A touch, the sound of a voice, the way of looking, the smallest gestures that speak louder than words. Each scene replays quietly in the mind of someone who still feels. And even without new chapters, the heart relives everything as if it were still happening now. Because when love is real, it doesn't depend on constant presence. It lives on through the depth of what was once truly felt, even in secret. There are texts that were never written, letters stuck in thoughts, confessions paused by fear. but all of that still exists somewhere. And maybe now, it's gaining strength to become action. Because when the heart matures, it understands that silence also speaks. And the time comes when hiding is no longer enough. What lived inside begins to seek space to breathe outside. The soul senses when it's about to reconnect with something it never truly lost. A certain lightness shows up in the air, a peace blended with anticipation. The invisible becomes almost tangible. And the signs that once felt subtle now shine like beacons. Each thought aligns, each emotion finds direction. It's as if the heart is finally ready to welcome what it always hoped for. And in that moment, the love that stayed hidden so long begins to want to be seen. But for that to happen, space must be opened. The truth must be allowed in, without barriers, without hesitation, without resistance. Because feelings nurtured for so long only bloom in fertile ground. And that ground is the heart that still believes, still allows, still chooses to feel without needing guarantees. Because the silent love no longer wants to hide. It wants to be lived fully. And that moment may be closer than ever before. Time may try to convince us that certain stories are over, but the heart always knows when something still pulses within. There are silences that don't mean absence, they mean protection. Protection for what is fragile, for what can't be exposed to the noise of the world. Because when a feeling is pure, it doesn't need an audience. It only needs to stay alive, even from a distance, even without answers. And anyone who truly feels, continues feeling, without visible signs. Sometimes, absence is just another way to protect what still exists. Not always is it possible to be physically present, but there are many ways to stay close. Through thoughts, through memories, through silent intentions. Energetic presence isn't limited to what eyes can see. It speaks through coincidences, through music, through dreams that return unannounced. And all of this is proof that the connection is still intact, even when no one speaks of it. When the heart keeps returning to the same place, it's not attachment, it's truth. It's the soul recognizing where roots still remain. Where an unfulfilled desire lingers, where an unfinished conversation still echoes, where a living feeling waits. And even if the world tries to pull attention away with new paths, there is always an invisible thread pulling back. A soft calling whispering, "This isn't over yet." Because real love doesn't end, it waits for understanding. During the quietest days, an invisible exchange takes place. As if one thought sent out finds another already waiting. As if emotions travel through the air and arrive right on time. That's connection. It can't be explained, only felt. And no matter how much the mind tries to ignore it, the body knows. the heart responds. The breath changes. Something awakens. Because the bond remains tied, even if the world around it can't see it. Every ordinary gesture becomes a way of keeping the feeling alive. A certain perfume, a song on repeat, a memory revisited with care. Nothing is random. Everything is a subtle attempt to keep love moving. A silent kind of care only those who feel deeply can understand. And that care has power. It's what sustains love on hard days, on uncertain days, on the days when everything feels too far away. It's what keeps this feeling from fading. Some loves mature in silence. They grow through longing, deepen through waiting, and strengthen in absence. They are not weak, they are discreet. And for that reason, they last. Because what is lived within the soul's silence doesn't fade easily. It stays there, untouched, until the day it's ready to be lived freely. And that day gets closer with every heartbeat that refuses to give up, despite not knowing what comes next. The love that waits in silence doesn't wait for external proof, it waits for courage. The courage to admit what's always been felt, even without confirmation. The courage to say, "It's still here." And when that courage rises, something shifts in the universe's vibration. Doors begin to open. Paths begin to align. Reunions start to unfold. And what once seemed lost begins to come alive again. Because love, when it's true, always finds its way back. There's a force that can't be explained, only felt. A silent magnetism that keeps two hearts connected, even when time tries to pull them apart. Nothing is strong enough to erase what was once real. Not absence, not doubt, not the new roads life may offer. Because when a soul finds shelter in another, no place in the world feels as safe as that feeling. And even without words, the present stays alive. Steady. Loyal. Quiet, yet unwavering. The love that refuses to fade finds ways to stay lit. Sometimes it's just a quick thought. Other times, a memory that brushes the skin like a warm breeze. And in each daily gesture, there's a touch of longing. A hidden desire for everything to gently begin again, truthfully, fully, and without fear. That desire doesn't come from lack, but from recognition. It's the heart knowing exactly where it still belongs, where it still beats, where something still waits to be lived. Without realizing it, two hearts might be following each other from a distance, feeling at the same time, remembering the same moments, nurturing the same love, even if in different ways. The universe takes care of this synchronicity like an invisible conductor guiding the melody of reunion. And every time one soul thinks with love, the other feels it. Because something exists beyond the physical. A bond made of truth, of soul, of an unfinished story. On days when silence feels heaviest, that's when love is most present. It reveals itself through the tightness in the chest, the long sighs, the distant gaze. These are the moments when the feeling beats louder, asking for space, asking for courage. Not to repeat what was, but to complete what was meant to be. True love doesn't return the same, it returns wiser. More whole. Hungry for truth. Ready to exist freely, honestly, and deeply. That's when the heart begins to speak to destiny. Sending signals, intuitions, silent prayers to the universe. There's no rush anymore, only clarity. No more fantasy, only faith. A faith rooted in everything once felt, now asking for a chance to become something real. Because no true feeling ever comes by accident. Everything has a purpose. Even the silence. Even the waiting. Even the distance. All of it was part of the time love needed to grow strong. The soul recognizes when it stands before something it belongs to. And no matter how many distractions the world creates, the heart always returns. Always. Because the love that never burned out wants to bloom. It wants to be seen, embraced, and lived. It wants to find in the other the same light it never stopped seeing. And when two hearts ache with the same longing, life finds a way to bring them close again. Not with haste. With intention. This reunion doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be real. It needs presence, openness, honesty. What was kept so carefully can no longer remain silent. It needs to find a voice, a form, a time. It needs to step out of memory and into choice. And it all begins with one inner decision to let the love that stayed continue. Not as it once was, but as it is now. With more clarity. With more soul. With more truth. There comes a moment when the heart no longer wants to only remember, it wants to live. A moment when what was once kept inside starts to overflow. And in that moment, everything that was silently felt begins to find a voice. A voice through gestures, through eyes meeting, through the reunion that destiny prepared with care. There is no more room for fear, only for truth. The truth of a feeling that withstood time, distance, and now longs to blossom beyond memory. The love that was protected in secret is ready to exist in the light. Not as a fantasy, but as something real, possible, and present. Everything once written in thoughts, felt in silence, held with hope, now opens as a path. a path that leads back to what was never truly lost. Because when love is real, it doesn't die. It becomes strength. It becomes faith. It becomes another chance to be lived for real. It doesn't matter how many days passed or how many questions went unanswered. What was built from the soul stands firm. And now, that feeling finds room to breathe freely, to be expressed with honesty, clarity, and calm. Life doesn't ask for promises, it offers opportunity. An opportunity to feel without fear, to live without pretending, to love with surrender. Because love that's been guarded is not meant to stay hidden. And when eyes finally meet again, nothing will need to be explained. Silence will be understood. Time will be forgiven. The words once held back will arrive with the softness of someone who always knew this moment would come. Every absence, every thought, every silent wish, it was all part of the preparation. And now, love can be lived in its purest form, awake, ready, and true. This is the time to say yes to what beats with sincerity. To open the heart and allow the love that waited to have space to move. Nothing has to be rushed, just received. Because when two souls recognize each other, very little is needed. A gesture is enough. A look translates everything. A quiet moment becomes everything. And that recognition isn't a dream, it's real. It's the continuation of something that never ended. Now is the time to close this truth with gratitude. Gratitude for having felt, even without knowing. For having waited, even without guarantees. For having believed, even without signs. May this message feel like a soft breeze announcing new beginnings. And if something in you is touched today, show that this connection matters. Type Amen in the comments, like this video, and subscribe to receive more messages like this one. And if this message truly spoke to your heart, click the thanks button just below. That simple act keeps this light flowing. It supports this sacred connection that exists between every soul who comes here. When you help this energy move forward, you're saying, I felt it. It's real. And in doing so, you're honoring not just this message, but the love that lived quietly inside you, waiting for this exact moment.